Hi, my name is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice, and today I'm going to be playing this game, Mining Colony Duel. This is a print and play game by Dr. Finn Games. That means that when you get the game, it's provided as a digital file. You just print out a few sheets of paper, bring your own pencil, and you're ready to play the game. I've printed it out and laminated everything so I can use dry erase markers instead of having to continue to print new sheets every time I want to play the game. This is a game for 1 or 2 players. I'm going to be playing solo mode today, which requires a small deck of cards, which I've also printed out, laminated, and cut. And basically what you're doing in this game is you are trying to build a Mars colony by selecting sort of hypothetical polyomino tiles and placing them on your player board. I'm going to show you exactly how that works, and then we'll just get right into the game, all right? Okay, so this is basically the materials that you need for the solo game. You got this deck of cards. This controls the sort of like AI opponent. And you have this little sheet here. In a 2-player game, each player would get one of these, and it folds in half, so you have a bit of a shield so you can conceal what you're doing on your player sheet from your opponent. But in a single-player game, that's not really relevant. You're basically just looking at this part of the board, part of the sheet here, and we're going to be making some markings on here. So, first of all, this is where we're building our colony. We're going to be selecting sort of like hypothetical tiles from this sheet over here, and then drawing those tiles onto this grid here. And when we do that, we're also going to get some symbols. As you can see, there are 3 symbols. There's this sort of square symbol. This is I think called a launch pad. And there's this, which is called a dome, and then this, which is called a station. So we're going to be building launch pads, domes, and stations on our colony. And we're going to be scoring points based on our arrangement of those 3, types of items on the grid in rows and columns. So we're trying to get more of the same kind of item in a row or column. That's how we get more points. We also have over here a place where we track credits. So we start out with 50 credits, and each round we're going to bid a number of credits, which is going to give us a new value of credits. And then our opponent is going to bid credits as well. Again, in a 2-player game, they'd be doing the same thing, and we'd be revealing what we bid at the same time. But in the solo game, you just make your bid, and then you flip over one of these cards, and that tells you what your opponent has bid. So whoever bids the highest is going to be able to get first choice of the tiles out here, and then you're going to draw the tile in on your grid, place the items that come with the tile, whether that's pads, domes, or stations. And then at the end of the game, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be maybe getting points for having filled in these stars. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to maybe be getting points based on the number of credits we have left. We're going to be getting points based on how we filled in our rows and columns. And then we're going to be losing some points if there's any spaces that are left unfilled on our grid. All right. So the first thing we have to do is we have this page over here. This is where we're selecting our hypothetical tiles from. And we have here a track numbered 1 through 8. These are the rounds, and we're going to fill in these empty spaces here with letters. So we're going to fill them in with letters A through H, and we're just supposed to do it kind of randomly. So I will do that now. Okay, and as you can see, each of these letters corresponds to, let's see if I can get this close enough for you to see. So in the middle of these 2 spaces here, we have the letter C. So on round 1, we'll be choosing one of these 2 tiles. So if I choose this tile, I'm going to draw this shape into my grid, and I'm going to get a landing pad, and it's got to go somewhere on the tile. All right. If I choose this one, I get to draw this shape in, and I get a landing pad, a dome, and a station, and I got to draw them in somewhere on that tile. It's showing it, this is just, if you were playing a 2-player game, you'd put this in between you, with me sitting over here and my opponent sitting over here. So That's why the items are shown twice, you know, oriented towards either side, right? Just for ease of reference, right? Okay, so that's the main thing we're going to be doing. We're going to be choosing these. We're going to be putting them on here. But we also need to, at the beginning of a solo game, select a solo mission. So there's 6 solo missions you can choose from. And so this is basically going to tell you whether you win the solo game. In a 2-player game, you're just going for highest score. But in a solo game, your opponent doesn't really get a score. So instead, you got to take on one of these missions as well. So let's see. Okay, well this one is score at least 1 point in every row and column. That sounds like an interesting challenge. So I'm just going to mark that, you know, that's the one I'm going for. And then we'll set that aside, and I just got to remember to try and score at least 1 point in every row and column. All right, so let's get right into it with the first round. The first round, I'm going to be competing for one of these 2 things. Which one do I want? Well, I think I'd prefer this one if I can get it. And on the first round, if the AI wins, he's going to go for the option on the left. So I know he's going to go for this one if he wins the bid. So I want to bid high enough that I think I can beat him. I know that the cards in here range from 1 to 12. So that's quite a big range. I don't know. You know, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to aim a little higher than half of that. So I'm going to go with an 8. I'm going to bid 8. So I'm going to make a note of 8, which leaves me with 42 credits left. All right, so I'm noting that there, and then we're going to flip over this card and see what he's bidding. Oh, he bid 8. Man, he wins ties. So he's going to get this tile, which means I don't get it, and then instead I'm going to get this one. All right, so I've got this little shape, and I could have put a landing pad on it. So your first tile you can put anywhere on the grid you want, and then you have to build off of it. So what do I want to do with that? Well, I think maybe for simplicity, I'll just put it down in this corner here. So I'm going to draw on the tile like so. All right, and then I got to put this landing pad on there somewhere. So maybe we will put it here. Okay. And they say to, you know, fill in all this, but I find that when you're using the marker, filling it in is kind of, it makes it hard to read the board. It's easy enough to read the board without filling it in when you're using the marker, so I'm not doing that. But if you're using pencil, you know, the pencil lines are going to be a little bit lighter, so I can see the value of that, but with the marker, it's unnecessary. All right, so we're going to cross off the 1 here because we finished the first round. We're going to move to round 2. And round 2, we're going to be competing over F. F is here, so these are the 2 shapes we have. All right, well, I think at this point I'd rather go for this one because it's going to give me more items. And on the second round, he's going to go for the right tile if he wins. So I don't really have to win this round. So I'm going to bid lower. I'm going to just go ahead and bid 2. Yeah. So that brings me down to 40 credits total, and then we'll flip over his. He bid 3. Okay, so he beat me, but just by 1. That's good. And he's going to take the one on the right, like I said, so I still get this shape, and I get 1 of each item. So where am I going to put that? All right, well, it's kind of an odd shape. The main thing I want to make sure I do is get at least 1 point in each row and column. And in order to do that, I need to have at least 2 of the same item in each row and column. So let's go ahead and put the shape here. All right, put the tile in like this. All right, and then we have one of each item. So we'll put the pad here. Okay, so now we have 2 pads in this column, so that guarantees us a point for that column. And then we have a dome and a station. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and put the dome. Man, what do we do? What do we do? Alright, I don't know that it really matters that much. I'm just going to put the dome here, and I'll put the station here. Alright, so that's round 2. Alright, round 3. We're going to be competing for A. A is up here. So we've got these 2 shapes, and those are the items we're bidding on. Alright, well okay, the one on the left is going to give me the most items. So maybe that's preferable. You know what? I'm just going to go for the one on the right if I can. Let's see. Yeah, I think that might be good enough. We'll go for the one on the right. Okay, so then that means I don't have to bid too much because it's an odd numbered round, so he's going to go for the one on the left if he wins. So again, don't need to bid a whole lot. I'll just bid 2 like I did last round. That'll leave me with 38, and he's going to bring out 1. Hey, that's great. So I get my choice, and I bid twice what he bid, so I get to fill in this little star here. That's going to be worth another point at the end of the game. All right, I'll hold this up so you can get a closer look at that. All right, so I just filled in this little star. All right. Okay, so I get my choice of these 2. All right, I was going to settle for this one, but since I have my choice, would it be better to go with this? Maybe. I'll go with that one. It gets me more items, and it'll fill in this space here perfectly. So that leaves nothing empty down there. Oh, man. But I may have ruined that. Let me think. If I do that, did I just screw myself out of... Yeah, I won't be able to get any point on this bottom column, which is important. So, let me take that back. Alright. That's a bad move. And take that move back. Alright. So, don't want to do that. Alright, so I guess I'll go with the one on the right. That was my plan originally anyway. So I'll go with that one. And I'll just put it here. No. I'm going to put it here. Okay, fills in this space. And it lets me make, you know, some progress on setting up to fill this column with something. So I get a station and a dome. I can put the station here. Alright, so now I've got a point on this row. And I'll put the dome. Doesn't really matter right now. Not gonna make a difference right now. So we'll put the dome here. Okay. Alright, so that was round 3. We're on round 4. We're going to be competing over H. H is down here, so these are our options. Alright, I mean, they're both good. I'd say this is probably better. And if he wins, he's going to go for the one on the right. So again, I can make a low bid this time around. Let's do it. Just bid 2 again. Put me at 36. And he is going to bid 2 as well. Alright, so he wins the tie, but that doesn't matter. He's going to go for the one on the right, so I'll get the one on the left, which is what I wanted. So I have kind of a shape just like the one I drew before on the last round. And I get a station and a launch pad. So I think I want to put the launch pad in one of these 2 spots, because that will guarantee a point for this row. So I think I want to do that, either this spot or this spot. And then the station, I want to go either in this spot or this spot, because that'll guarantee a point, you know, for this column or that column. think I'm going to put the station here because I have a dome here as well, so that leaves me a couple of options. I could either put a dome or a station somewhere higher in this column. All right, so let's do that. We're going to draw in the tile like so. Put a station here, and we'll put the launch pad right here. Okay, so now I have locked in a point for this row and for this column. So far so good. All right, so that was H. Up next is D. D is going to be this. We're competing over these shapes. All right. Okay, what do I want out of those? Well, I need something to get me a point in this column, but it could be any symbol. It could be any one of the items. And I still need to guarantee a point for this row, and that would need to be a dome. There's a dome available here. All right, so that's a possibility. All right, so I think given the chance, I'm going to try and grab this one. All right, sounds like a plan. And his preference is going to be for the one on the left, so I don't have to bid high. So that works. I'm just going to bid a 2. Leaves me with 34. And he's going to bid 9. Okay, so this is the first time he's bid twice or more what I bid. So I'm going to circle this star over here. That's going to be a negative point for me at the end of the game. All right, and he's going to get his choice. He's going to take the one on the left, which means I get the one on the right, which is the one I wanted anyway. And I'm going to put that down in this corner here. And I'll put the dome there, so that locks in a point for that row. And I will put the station here. So this was not necessary. This station was not necessary, but having 3 stations in the same row will get me an extra point at the end of the game. So that's not a bad thing. All right, and that was round number 5. So round number 6. All right, round number 6, we're going to be competing for B. So here we are with B. Yeah, I think I want the one on the right. That'd be my preference because it gives me 2 things. So I can possibly lock in, two different columns or rows or something. Tricky. So one of the things I have to be careful of is I've got this row here, which I haven't locked in a point for yet. And the only space I can really get something in now is right here. So I got to get something in that space, and it needs to be either a station or a dome. This is offering a station, so I could fit that in there. That would work. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to try and get that if I can. Okay, so he is going to prefer that one too, though, so I really have to compete for him on that. Okay, I'm going to go kind of all in and bid 10 this time around, which will leave me with 24. And he is going to bid 11. Ah, he still beat me. Man, that's terrible. Okay. All right, so I'm stuck with this one on the left, which is just like a square. Oh, man, this is not good. All right, so it's a square with a launch pad on it somewhere. Well, what do I need? Where can I use a launch pad? The only place I can really use a launch pad right now is on this column. So I want to put the square so that it goes in this column. It's a 2x2 square, so I could put it, see if I put it here, then it blocks me from putting a dome up here, which I need to do. I need to put a dome up here. So I guess I better put it like this. All right, and then we'll put the launch pad. We'll just put it right here. Okay. All right, we only got 2 rounds left. This is not looking too good for me. Okay, so now we're competing for G, which is down here. So it's these 2 shapes. All right, both of these shapes would provide a dome, which would be good. If I had a dome, I could put it, you know, up here somewhere. That would let me lock in a point for this column. Or if I put a dome right here, that would lock in a point for this row. So I want to do, oh, if I put a dome here, it would lock in a point for this row and for this column. So that would be ideal if I could put a dome right there. All right, again, we're competing for G. Either one of them gives me a dome. This shape right here actually won't fit anywhere on my board. So if I get this shape, then I just put I just fill in 1 square somewhere on my board and put one of the items there. All right, I mean, this is probably the better move in general. It's so tough. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. His preference is going to be for the one on the left. I don't think it really matters which one I get, so I'm just going to bid 2. Keep it simple. Leaves me at 22. And he is going to come out with 10. He did more than double me, so he's going to circle another star. And he's going to get his preference, which is the one on the left. So I'm going to get this one. Alright, so putting a dome here covers 2 of my bases, so to speak. So I'm going to put this here, put the dome right there. Alright, so now we've locked in a point for this row and for this column. Have I lost yet? Let me see. Okay, in order to be able to win, and we've got 1 round left. So in order to be able to win on this round, what do I need to accomplish? I need to lock in a point for this column, which means putting a dome either here or here. And I need to lock in a point for these top 2 rows. That's going to be really hard to do. And what are my choices? We're bidding on E. This is E. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much impossible. Yeah, it's definitely impossible. Okay, well, let's just see what we can do to maximize our score anyway, even if we don't technically win. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. I guess if getting this would be the better one. That's what he's going to be going for, though. He's already bid 9, 10, and 11. He's also bid 8. He's bid 8, 9, 10, or 11. So if he bids 12, that's the highest he could bid. Otherwise, he's going to bid a 7. Let's see, he's also bid 1, 2, and 3. So he could bid 4, 5, 6, or 7, or 12. So it's going to be 4 through 7 or 12. All right. I mean, it doesn't make that big of a difference. So I think I'm just going to bid. I'm going to bid 2. That'll leave me with 20. And he's going to bid 12. Yeah, so. All right, he gets to circle another star here. And he gets his choice, which will be the one on the right. So that's this one. So that leaves me with this. Okay, so this shape will not fit on my grid. So I just get to fill in 1 square on my grid, and I get to put either a launch pad or a dome. So I think if we fill in this spot right here, and we put a launch pad there, right? That secures us a point for this row, and it gets us another a couple points for this column, right, by having a third one there in that column. All right, so I think that's the best we can do. All right, so that's the end of the game. We're just gonna see how our score worked out. So first of all, we look at up here, A. A encompasses all these stars here. We got one star that we filled in, but then we circled 3. The circles are negative, so this nets us a -2. So we're going to fill that in down here, -2. All right, B is the number of credits we had left, 20, divided by 5, so that's 4. So we're going to get 4 here. All right, C is going to be all these. So let's look at what we scored for each row. So we had 2 of a kind here in this row, so that's 1 point. 2 of a kind in that row. 2 of a kind in that row. 3 of a kind in this row. And 2 of a kind in that row. All right, so we had nothing there. And our total here is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, then we're going to do the columns. So we had 3 of a kind here. That's 3 points. We had nothing there. We had 2 of a kind there, so that's 1 point. 2 of a kind. And 2 of a kind. All right, a total of 6 there. All right, and then we get -1 for each empty, undeveloped space. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So -6. All right, and we figure out what our whole total is. All right, these cancel each other out. So we have 7, 8, 9. We're going to have the -2 there, so we have a total of 9 points, right? So did I get that right? That is cancel each other out. That would be 11 minus 2 is 9. Yep, so 9 points total. All right, that is the game. So we got 9 points, and we failed to complete our mission here of getting at least 1 point in each row and column. So technically, we lost the game. We only had 9 points to show for it. Let's go back up and recap and kind of talk about this a little more. All right, so that is Mining Colony Duel. At least that's the solo version. It's a pretty cool little game, right? You have some interesting mechanisms here. You're basically taking these theoretical polyomino style tiles and smashing them into your grid to fill up as many spaces as you can, and as you do so, you're also placing out those 3 different items. You've got the launch pads, the domes, and the stations, and you're trying to get, a certain arrangement of things so that you fill as many spaces as you can. Also, you're trying to line up those different items into the rows and columns to be worth points. You also have that interesting bidding mechanism where you're bidding against your opponent. You want to try to outbid them if there's a particular tile that you want or need. If you don't have a particular preference, or in this case with the AI, you can predict which one they will go for if they win the bid. So you might decide, I don't need to win the bid because the one that they're going to go for anyway is not the one I need or the one I want. So you can intentionally bid low. However, if your opponent outbids you by double what you bid, then that's a point that you lose as well. So it kind of keeps you from wanting to bid too low, even if you're not worried about winning. You might bid a little bit higher just to keep them from doubling you and getting that extra point. So yeah, some interesting things going on. As you can see, it's a pretty fast game. Let's see, how long did that take? We've been at this for about a half hour. So, and that was with me taking time to explain what I'm doing and walking you through my thought process the whole time. So if you're just sitting down to play a solo game, you can easily breeze through this in like 15-20 minutes, no problem. There are some variants. I showed you, right, we were playing on this board. There's another board I have on the other side, which is just a different arrangement of tiles. And then they have another variant that has yet another variation of tiles. And then it also has these like common objectives at the top. I think this works best in the 2-player game. Not so much in the solo player game. There is a way you can use it in solo player, but I think it works best in the 2-player game. It basically, in addition to everything else you're doing, you're trying to race, to be the first one to accomplish these objectives because you get extra points for those. And then they also have another variant that lets you use a different player sheet. This one has these, you know, like outposts on it. I think is what they're called. Maybe they're not called. Yeah, outposts. They're called outposts. And the scoring works a little bit differently. Instead of trying to arrange the items in rows and columns, you're trying to arrange them still in columns, but then also you're trying to get a certain arrangement around the outposts. All right, so that's, you know, interesting. There's a few different variants there, and yeah, it's a pretty neat game. It's fun in 2-player, and you can see it's still pretty engaging in the solo player mode. So anyway, that's a look at Mining Colony Duel by Dr. Finn's Games. Thank you so much for watching. My name was Nathan. This is Nice at Dice, and you enjoy the rest of your day.